Hello, and welcome to Khyber Shards, a 5th edition actual play show set in the Eberron campaign world. It's Friday, and we have Khyber Shards Answers, and here we have Eric
What up?
to stand here like he's at a family gathering while you ask him really invasive questions about Ari's personal life.
Right?
Because that's what we've got for you today, Eric, is...
None of your business. That's my answer to everyone.
Oh, man. Yeah. So last couple episodes, obviously, were very relationship conversations, and our viewers have some questions for you regarding all of that.
Excellent.
Indeed. Starting with Emily. Eric, when Ari confessed to Shade, were you expecting the gossip mill about your character's relationship status? And for that matter, was Ari expecting the gossip about his and Shade's relationship?
No and no. So like I I genuinely, and this is Eric speaking to Philip as well as the viewers, like I did not intend for this to take over the show in the way it seems to have done. Like I wanted it to be just kind of a fun background thing. When we had some more downtime, Ari would like go grab dinner with Shade and we'd have a little scene here, and then like, handful of episodes would go by and then we have maybe a bit more. I did not intend for that to be all that anybody is talking about. um and yeah, Ari's struggling with how much people are talking and being and obviously he doesn't know, to the extent he doesn't know that Pog and Solark are talking about it, and Shade's free to talk to Mrs. B. But like knowing that the kids are talking about it, and like Puzzle Just is just apparently telling anybody that asks, like it makes him feel really weird, because it's private, and also he doesn't have answers for any of them. If any of them were to come ask him what's going on, Ari's like, I don't know, like, you want to go ask her and let me know. But then additionally, like, he's not used to this because for so much of his life, like everything that he did was just kind of, forgotten about. And so
Yeah.
there being, I don't want to say consequences, but there being repercussions for a thing that Ari did on a personal level is kind of new. Like, and so it's exhausting right now. Like, I think the novelty of it wore off very quickly. It was like, oh crap. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Me being Puzzle Dust in that moment was fun. But it is very like, the small environment of the school. It would be hard for it not to turn into this.
Yeah.
Savage Artificer inquires, is Ari still planning to make a play for Stormlord, or did he take Thor's advice to heart? I will let you answer that to the degree that you feel you can. Obviously, there's some of that that's still in flux, I imagine.
Yeah. And Philip and I have talked a bit about Ari's next steps and like his thoughts on the whole situation. So I'm not going to get too much into it because it is still very much relevant to the story. But I will say that our Thor's advice of just hang out and wait and like until I'm done, and then maybe we'll like figure something out. Ari did not take that advice to heart. Like, just to
Right.
that's about the level of depth that I want to go into it. But no, Ari's not like, oh, okay, I'll just wait until Thora says it's cool and then I can try to be a Stormlord. So yeah, that's a very reductive way of stating what she said. But
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that yes. As young people usually don't. Emily asks, how well do you think Ari is coping with the constant stimulation of everybody else's thoughts?
It's a lot. And I think the way that it plays in my head is like when it's very heightened emotions is when it like really starts to like hit harder. Like it's just kind of a general thrum white noise at the school when there's just people around that he's beginning to be okay with. But if he were to go to like the Red Ring, I think he might pass out just from like the heightened emotions of people like screaming and like betting and all this stuff. Because it's walking a fine line between mechanical benefits of something like detect thoughts versus interesting narrative. So I'm playing it much more as like pressure in Ari's brain as opposed to like actual understanding of people's thoughts. Like that, just the presence of other people's minds weighs heavily on him. And so
Yeah.
the more emotive somebody's being, the more oppressive that sensation is. So
Cool. Now I know. Got to get Ari into the Red Ring so I can drive
right.
him completely insane.
Mm-hmm.
Wahaha. I'm Spartacus inquires. Where would Ari draw the line on things he would not be willing to acquire for a certain Fey prince?
I do not want to answer this question with Philip present. So Philip, if you take um so uh I Ari told the Forgotten Prince, like, I'm not going to kill anybody for you. I'm not going to like take their life because they don't appreciate it, and probably like, well, not probably, definitely not going to mutilate anybody. Like, hey, they don't like appreciate their left hand, so bring it to me. Like, um,
I want that
so
guy's leg.
right, um, it's beyond that. You know, it's very much. I think if the Forgotten Prince were to say like, bring me something that like a very well-to-do or wealthy person in Stormreach or even on the continent of Corvair, you know, they have become so obsessed with money that they've forgotten about this, like this childhood trinket or something. So go take that. Sure, probably do that. But like stealing from somebody that like just because it's a reference point the viewers will know,
Sure.
stealing something from like somebody like Cadrick's family, if Ari were to enter that situation and see, he'd probably be like, no. So I think his morality would get in the way of like stealing from people that are already like having a hard time. So yeah, that would be kind of where that lands. Now, if Ari's ignorant to it, like if it's like steal stuff from Cadrick's mom and she's just out and about in the town, like, you know, whatever. Ari's not a detective, but like but if he's
Yeah.
willfully stealing from somebody that's having a difficult time, then he's gonna have a hard time going through with it. So
Yeah. This is an interesting question. If it would get rid of puzzle dust, would Ari return Cal to Thalanis?
no, like
Yeah, I have a
absolutely
hard
not.
time imagining. And follow
Like
up, what would Ari do to get rid of puzzle dust?
I don't know if Ari would like. Puzzle dust is a nuisance at times, but Puzzle Dust has been helpful. Like Puzzle Dust led Ari to the Forgotten Prince to get like the curse removed. Like Puzzle Dust has helped Ari. It's just one of those things where like Puzzle Dust is that friend that, you know, has some skills that can be useful from time to time. You just don't want to spend like a few hours with them chatting because and also they can't keep a secret to save their life. Um so no, I mean I think if Puzzle Dust genuinely became like, if Puzzle Dust started like talking to people in a way that endangered the school, for example, like sharing secrets about the school with anybody that, and I don't think Puzzle Dust would. I think Puzzle Dust is an agent of chaos, not malice. Um, but then Ari would begin examining what would need to happen to return Puzzle Dust to the Feywild. And certainly not going to hurt anybody, probably not going to hurt Puzzle Dust like physically, like but Ari would like do quite a bit to protect the school if that's what was required of him in getting rid of Puzzle Dust. Now, if Cal wanted to return to Thalanis and doing so would get rid of Puzzle Dust, Ari would do that without
Yeah.
hesitation. Ari cares much more about Cal's well-being and mental well-being than Puzzle Dust. So yeah.
Logically. Cal having never done him any wrong.
Right. That we know of. I mean, Cal.
That's true. That's true. Cal's probably got a very good stealth modifier compared to Ari's perception. So.
I feel like there were some moments in like Aladdin where Aladdin tried to put a move on Jasmine and Raja like intercede. Then we might get some of that from Cal, maybe. But yeah,
yeah, some classic cat jealousy.
Yeah.
Laura asks, from a meta perspective, is there anything that you've felt you had to play differently with Esrigon? I know sometimes in a game it's easy to play a headstrong character if there's someone else to balance that out. And now that Shade and Pog don't, not that Shade and Pog don't have their own opinions on things, but they're much more likely to give in than Esri ever was. And I feel like the discussion between Ari and Esri opened up possibilities that hadn't occurred to them.
I mean, the biggest thing is just kind of the self-awareness that like uh I mean, Philip has referenced the lack of like insight checks that were happening when we were talking with the Stormlords and stuff like that. Like, it was very easy to play Ari as uh recklessly trusting of people
Mm,
because there was always going to be somebody there willing to be hypercritical of the people that we came across and interacted with. And with that gone, it's about finding a balance, because I would joke with Philip, like, I don't want to take a feat for Ari to give him proficiency and insight so Ari can start doing that, because that's not who Ari is. Like,
right.
that's not how I've wanted to play Ari. So but it's been a bit more of trying to keep possibilities open for Shade and Pog to be critical of people, and
Mm,
not go so hard in terms of Ari's opinion that like we need to trust this person, or we need to like it would be ridiculous to be distrusting of them. Much in the way that he was with when we initially met like Drago Thule and the Swords of Karn and Thora. Even Ari was very much like, no, like we should trust them. So I think that's been the biggest thing, is just not pushing as hard in terms of that role play element. Other than that, I think that Ari has a really good dynamic with Pog and Shade, to where like you said, like Shade and Pog have their own opinions, and I think Ari has cultivated a relationship with those two in a way to where they don't feel like they can't express those opinions to Ari, even if he is speaking very definitively about something. Like Shade
mm.
and Pog, at least in my estimation of the relationship, know that Ari welcomes their pushback and feedback on most anything. So yeah.
Cool. There's another question that maybe you will have to only partially answer from Emily. Is Ari going to try and do anything to make himself seem like an ideal successor to Thora for when she finally steps down as Stormlord? I would point out that she has not yet stepped up. Or is he not thinking that far ahead into the future?
Uh, Ari, to answer your question, second question, Ari's not thinking that far ahead in the future because
Yeah,
uh, he's not concerned about making himself an ideal successor to Thora. Like, that's not
yeah.
the path forward for him at this point. So that's all I'll say.
Cool. Uh, and then also from Emily, does Ari think that it would be possible for him and Shade to have biological children given the species difference, or is he expecting to adopt, assuming Shade would want to raise a family with him? On a similar note, if the only way for Ari to have biological kids with Shade was for Ari to permanently remain a hexblood, would he do so?
Emily, when you ask questions, sometimes I have this moment of just the insides of my soul rend apart, because as much as I hate my characters and love to torture them, the idea of playing in a campaign run by you utterly terrifies me with the ideas and questions that you ask from time to time. Um, no, that's a phenomenal question, and one that I think would largely depend on the way that it, assuming that Ari and Shade are together and happy and they decide that they want to raise a family together, and the only way for like that being a choice that Ari has to make, yeah, I think it would break his heart and like make him incredibly sad, but he would pay that price, I think, without much question. It would be one of those things where there's no real it's a choice you would never want to make, but it's an easy choice to make, if that makes sense. Um, to answer the first question, I don't know how Hexblood and Kitsune relations go in terms of reproduction. um, so, I mean, them both being Fae, maybe there's a lot more magic involved with the reproductive process than with people from the material plane,
You
with
can
other
have
humanoids.
you can have half almost anything in
Yeah.
D&D, so it seems likely. I would be tempted to like, obviously if we got to that point and we were gonna, it would probably be a conversation. I would want to think about any sort of mayhem I might cause,
Yeah.
and talk to Eric and Casey about it. It would be amusing to say that any pairing of Fae and Fae just results in a random Fae.
A random Fae.
So for all you know, Ari and
God.
Shade would have a pixie
A little
as their
satyr.
child,
Yeah.
or something ridiculous like that.
A centaur.
But so yes, yeah, that would, from my perspective, as the person who would be sort of arbiter of that sort of thing, I would probably have a conversation with Eric and Casey and see what they thought would be fun and amusing and interesting from a narrative perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that your point on magic is a good question. Is it biology when we're talking about inherently magical creatures? Like, are we talking
Yeah.
about biology anymore, or is this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because to know about Fae, you roll Arcana, not nature.
Yeah. Is it
So
because like Fae can't be affected by like charm person or hold person and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's interesting.
maybe they have to go back to Thalanis where the magic is strong, and like maybe they can't do it on the material plane. Oh, who knows?
There's all sorts of weird questions that are raised by this.
Yep.
So thank you for that, Emily.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you on that. Emily sounds like a very clever and dangerous game master. I also sometimes worry about the degree to which Emily seems to be operating exactly on the wavelength that I am.
Yeah.
I will not say when and which times, but probably Emily has noticed several times that she has accurately guessed exactly what was about to go on. So
yeah,
100%. Well done. Well, that is all of the questions that we
Mia
have.
had a question at the very top, right after, like on.
Oh, did I miss one? I did miss one. Thank you so much. Oh, yes, I missed one. I saw my name and I just skipped over it because I automatically read that as me saying everyone, and that's where I thought the line broke. Yes. Mia, thank you. Mia asks Eric, what made you decide to have Ari be romantically interested in Shade? You've told us that you're always mean to your own characters, and I'm wondering, given how aromantic Shade is, was that meanness any part of your decision to have Ari court her? Did you deliberately pick Shade because it would be hard?
So, and this is something that I know that I think in different conversations, me, Philip, me, Colin, and me, Casey, have all talked about after the scene, and I genuinely did not read Shade as aromantic in the lead up to it and in the early campaign. I very much read Shade, and I'm not speaking for Casey in any regard because that's Casey's prerogative to share those aspects of Shade, but I very much read Shade as somebody that like was never taught and did not have the language to express these ideas, so they just weren't an aspect of her personality or her life. Not that it was and so that's very much how I viewed it, as like Shade never had anybody to tell her about dating, so why would she ever think about it? And so it wasn't when I had the initial conversation with Casey about the idea. Casey told me, she's like, Shade's not going to know what to do with this information. I was like, no, that's fine. And I jokingly told her, I like torturing my characters, so I'm fine with like a long, protracted, like Shade figuring it all out kind of thing. But no, so that was my reasoning for having Ari be romantically interested in Shade was very organic and came out of ultimately that conversation in the tree about the journal and all that kind of stuff, kind of realizing there might be a natural organic progression there between these two characters and their history with each other and the potential future that they have together. And then that was kind of further solidified once it came out that they were both the two Fae members of the party, and I thought that was a nice little connection that they had. And so, yeah, it certainly wasn't that I read Shade as aromantic and like, okay, I'm going to throw my character in to be romantically interested in somebody who's aro. Um, and to answer your second question, have you ever played a PC to PC romance before? If so, how did it go? Sorry, you normally read the questions. I just kept
That's
reading.
okay.
So,
Yeah.
no, I've not done a PC to PC romance before. I've never done a PC to NPC romance. I've only done NPC to PC as the GM. So that's my experience, but it was with Philip. So but yeah, it's very much a different uh it's different being in the driver's seat, because like when I was being a romantic interest for Philip's character, I very much kind of allowed Philip to drive things being a player character. And it's a lot of fun and very different doing it with another player character, because you're both driving things and kind of determining where things go. And we'll see how it continues. So yeah.
I am I'm in the same boat. I have never role played a PC to PC romance. This is my second time being the game master for a campaign that had one. There was one in our in my one of my home games from a couple of years back that involved RA and another player, and that was a fun position to be in a very different way, because whereas all of the NPCs reacting to this around Shade and Ari are um, friends and things like that, I had I had access to one of the players' actual parents in that game.
Amazing.
And so that was amusing to sort of allow in. But like here, and like Eric said, I very much have allowed the player characters to stay in the driver's seat of that, and to go where they have sort of have mutually agreed to take this narrative.
To answer the
So
second half of
it's
your
very,
question, though, Mia, it went poorly because Philip dumped me ultimately, so that it did not go well from a in-universe standpoint. So
leaving some context out
we don't
there,
need more context or details. Philip dumped me, and that's that.
Yeah, dumped you. If you want that story, Eberron Renewed Campaign 1.
Yep. Laura could probably tell you what episode.
Laura could give you timestamps for the whole saga if you want them.
Featuring an NPC in Khyber Shards. So there you go.
That's true. That's
played
true.
Very differently, but
sure. Yeah, there was a whole arc in Stormreach in Eberron Renewed. And so I have tried on as many occasions as possible to play any NPCs that overlapped as differently as I can think of how to do it. So yes, it's yes. So there you go, Eberron Renewed, which is well into campaign 2 now. Speaking of wrapping up this and outroing things, you can hear me and Eric playing on opposite sides of the screen on the podcast Eberron Renewed, well into its second campaign, where I play a character who has absolutely no idea what to do in social and or romantic situations, for very different reasons. Other than that, you can get in touch with us at various links down below in the description, as well as over on our Discord, which is where we get these questions. So if you want to submit questions for next week's KSA, you can do so there at the Discord. But until then, new episodes of Khyber Shards drop on Monday. New Khyber Shards answers on Friday. And until next time, thanks for rolling with us.